Right. Horror stories. Nadia. While I decompose myself. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm on the spot here for horror stories, but actually, there is something I wanted to chat to you guys about that isn't necessarily a horror story. So I'll start off with that. If you want to make changes to your contract, how do you do that? Okay. So we are getting this question a lot at the moment. How are you changing terms and conditions for employees? So everybody's looking at options right now to, cut costs, be more efficient, to ensure that the offering is, in line with what's offered in the industry. And that sometimes involves realizing, wow, we pay way too much sick pay. Nobody else pays 6 months sick pay. So things like that. If you need to make changes to your terms and conditions, how do you do that? Because this is probably my horror stories. I have seen absolutely horrific attempts at doing this over the last, probably all through December. It's come out, and now, where managers have basically just told staff, oh, this is now changed, or this is now changed, or this is now changed, or written some heavy-handed letter that some 82-year-old ex-businessman who is on your board has drafted, because that's how they did it back in their day. They just told them in a letter and they had no choice. All wrong. Please stop doing that. Please stop. If you need to change your terms and conditions in any way, come and talk to us. Because one of the favorite lines we hear at the moment is, yes, but the contract says we can make changes to the terms and conditions. It does. But those are for very minor changes only. So I'll explain to you what kind of changes we're talking about. We're talking about things like changing the pay date. Okay, so maybe you pay every 2 weeks and you're going to move to paying monthly. There's still a little bit of a process. You can't just write to them and being like, so we know it's like the 25th of the month, but hey, from next month, we're paying you at the end of the month. Because then you're going to have a lot of people in 2 weeks' time who are going to be out of pocket, because that's not how their budgets work. Or you want to change the pay date from the 25th to the last working day of the year, a month for, maybe you've changed payroll systems or whatever the reason is for it. Or you want to change the way your holiday works. For example, maybe you still have the old school way of holiday that is split into 20 days holiday, 8 days bank holidays. And actually, you've spoken to one of us and we've gone, hey, whoa, that's stupid. So you now want to change to 28 days, inclusive of bank holidays. Those are the kind of changes, the minor changes that you can make without consultation, at the right time, with the right amount of notice, and for God's sake, in the right tone. Please. So those are the type of changes we're talking about, okay? We are not talking about changes like changing the amounts of holiday, changing the amount of sick pay you pay, removing or amending any benefit in a way that means the employee will be worse off. It is absolutely not for changing pay, working hours, and structures. Okay? So if we're looking at these bigger changes, which is the changes people are trying to make, if you need to change the structure in any way, and often you think, oh, I'm just reducing this person's hours and these person's hours and increasing that person's hours and promoting this person to that. And we're going, no, actually, you need a full restructure of the entire department or put at risk of redundancy, please. The reason for that is because the changes you are making impact on the other employees. So suddenly, if you've just promoted one person, but you've changed two other people's jobs, you've actually impacted on the entire team and how they operate and who they report to, and maybe what even their tasks and duties are. So you can't just make changes like that. So those will often tell you the easiest, the quickest, and the safest way to do it is to do it through a restructure. It's a bit of a job, not going to lie. It takes some work, and it takes around 3 weeks. But we can literally tell you step by step what to do, when to do it. We have the letters, we have the paperwork, we have the pictures, we have everything. So we guide loads of people through this, and I'm sure we might have done it for both of you on this call already at some point. The other thing, if you are changing terms and conditions, is if you're changing things like benefits and you're suddenly going, oh, I can't pay 6 months sick pay anymore, or I'm changing the overtime, or we're not going to pay toil anymore, we're just going to pay overtime now, or we're not going to pay overtime anymore, we want to move to toil. Those things require consultation. And in the nicest possible way, you can do it all by the book. And at the end of the day, you'll have 2 out of 5 employees going, no, I won't sign that. And then you can't do it. So we will often still suggest that you do a restructure in order to achieve your change in terms and conditions. If we do that, that's because we've looked at it and we always look at it and go, why would an employee agree to this? Just because you're telling them to, just because you're asking them to, no on both counts. So you need a way in which you're actually going to achieve your outcome. Because otherwise, and we've seen this a lot in the past, someone will do this informal consultation kind of process and end up with half of the employees saying, okay, and half of the employees saying no, and 1 or 2 just not engaging with you at all. And then we say, okay, well, now you've failed, so now we have to do a restructure. By that point, everyone's pissed off already. Fireflies, we need to find a different word for that. We will give you the best advice of how to do it. And sometimes you can do it through a consultation process. It's usually a 30-day consultation, and that is usually best done if you are either buying them out of something, so you're giving them money for the thing you're taking away from them. So you're saying, we're changing the way that we work, and you're not going to actually be getting overtime paid the way you have before for Sundays or weekends or whatever, but actually we're upping your pay to make up for the money that you're going to lose. That is a good way to do things like that. And then that can often be done through a consultation as well, as long as you can explain it well. The other way to do it is to do it, it's tit for tat, to say, I'm taking this, but I'm giving that. So the sick pay, we're not going to pay you 3 months full pay anymore. The sick pay is now going to be 28 days, but actually we're going to give everyone 3 days extra holiday.
Yeah.
A smart employee might still go, no, I'm 60 and I'm going to be sick. But most employees will go, okay, quite like 3 days extra holiday. So you're still buying them out, but not with money necessarily. You're buying them out by giving them something in return. Yeah. So I think that's the quickest overview I can do of this. But please do not try and just make these changes thinking you can informally just talk to people that are going to agree, or just tell them, or like I say, just send them some sort of heavy-handed letter informing them that it has changed. All of those things will backfire. Just come and talk to us, say, I want to change this, what's the best way to do it? And we will give you the best advice we can.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Exactly. Yeah, we're preaching to converted here. Yeah, exactly. I was giving a GCMA talk yesterday about the new changes, something totally different now, the new changes coming in. And we had a difference of opinion, me and one of the attendees. And it was about in October 2026 that employers are going to be liable, legally liable, for the actions of third parties towards their staff. Now, we've already been talking about this because of the sexual harassment increase in fines and everything, that you need to be careful because it is a grey area around members, because they're could it be argued that they're actually part of your organisation because they keep saying, oh, we own this club? Well, then you're part of the organisation and you have to follow the rules, would they be external? So it's a bit of a grey area right now. From October, it's not grey. It is absolutely crystal clear. Any member of the public, be it societies or members, who harass for any reason, and harass is on the basis of a protected characteristic, although, bullying is not great either, you are legally liable for their actions. Okay, you can be sued for their actions. Now, yes, this is absolutely scary. Absolutely. But it's also the same as health and safety, that you are responsible for all people, whether they're your employees or not, who come onto site, and you have to take steps to make sure they are safe. Okay. It's the same thing. You're not supposed to be able to prevent anything, because there are really stupid people who will ignore all warnings, lock doors, everything. But you are supposed to put stuff in place to minimise it and minimise the danger. Okay, so you don't leave open holes, manholes in the floor without making sure it's walled off. You let them go into electricity substations, these type of things. And it was interesting because the gentleman in question was very much, well, that's ridiculous. We can't do that. I'm like, well, you need to do work with your members to make sure they understand they're not allowed to harass people. But as a very minimum, if they do harass people, whether it's sexual or because of race, we've got one of those going on at the moment, that has to be dealt with in the correct way with your disciplinary procedure, which should be up to date from the England golf stuff. And you've got to apply it. And you can't go, oh, Bob, he's 92, he's never going to change. It's like, no, you do not tolerate it anymore. If you tolerate it, if you don't dismiss Bob, I'm not saying you have to, it depends what he's done, but it's like you have to take appropriate sanctions, just as if this was a staff member of 92, which you could have, I'm just saying, it's not impossible, who said the same things. What would you do then? Oh, well, I'd subject them to a disciplinary yes, but you would have also done training as to what was acceptable. That's what you're supposed to do. You are now legally liable. And if you don't treat Bob the correct way and take it seriously, then whoever it was who raised the complaint can now sue you for not dealing with it properly. Well, not now, in October. And he would not get that. He's like, well, that's just ridiculous. It's impossible. There's 800 members. We can't possibly train all of them. Okay, wait. There are companies with 800 staff. Do you think it's a defence state? Oh, there's too many. We'll just do 80. We'll just do 80. That's a reasonable amount. And if it's the others, well, we can't do anything about it. His thing was, we can't possibly know what they're going to do and therefore head it off at the pass. And even the rest of the group are going in. It's like, yes, you can. That's what health and safety is. You go, right, what is likely to happen? How bad is it and how likely is it to happen? What can we put in place to stop that happening? Okay, so we make sure that if we have no tolerance, zero tolerance above the bar, that there's somebody senior there. So if somebody makes a comment, they are immediately spoken to and potentially kicked out pending a disciplinary, that people know what they're supposed to be doing. He would not accept it. And I'm like, but you can't, there's no defense. You can't go to the judge and say, but it's just impossible because we can't possibly anticipate what they would do. And we all said, well, it is just like health and safety. It's just on harassment, the protected characteristics. And he's like, oh, well, health and safety is perfectly okay. And I said, that just shows how young you are. Because when health and safety started, 20, 30 years ago, it's just ridiculous. People are grown ups. They can work out themselves whether they're going to electrocute themselves or fall into a hole. We don't have to do this. We don't have to protect them. And now it's seen as standard. If you're not doing the health and safety, you're like, why are you not doing the health and safety? And it'll be the same with harassment. Why would you tolerate that behaviour to your staff, or even to other members for that matter? And it was just a very illuminating heads up that I will go work on, because I must admit, when he first said it, I'm like, I was almost like, is this a joke? You're joking, aren't you? You're sort of saying, oh, there's so many members, what are we going to do? No, deadly serious. And that was a general manager. That was not a committee member. This was a mid-30s guy. So what I will now be working on is how to counter all these things and make it clear you do need to do things. You need to train your board of directors as same as you would any staff member on what is acceptable for sexual harassment. You need to do the online training. You need to deal with issues quickly and have sanctions. I'm talking with one of our member advisors about whether we should be pushing to actually invoke a fine culture, because he comes from the Football Association. If there's a problem, if there's a disciplinary, yes, there's a warning, but there's also a fine depending on what the offence was. It's not automatically expulsion. If you get a first written warning, it's, say, a £500 fine for that offence. And instead of maybe not giving them money back from their subs, which I don't agree with, but okay. But it's then more direct. It's like, for this level of thing, it's £500. For that, it's £1,000, whatever it is. And it's got to become standard, that because actually it turns out societies are a problem. We don't hear about societies being a problem because apparently the golf clubs don't think we could help with that. And I'm like, but if a society is rude, then you say you're now banned and you can't come back here. End of that. I mean, that's even much easier than dealing with golf club members, because you have no requirement to have those people back ever. And it's just like somebody going into a pub and starting throwing bottles and glass and starting fights. You get a ban. End of. There's no appeal. There's no process. It's just you're banned, gone. And they're like, but we can't get the societies to behave properly. I'm like, well, of course you can. You send to the organizer that we have a zero tolerance policy. That means if there's any bad behavior on these, you will be all immediately thrown out of the club and you will not be allowed to come back. Do you understand, or are you willing to proceed on that basis? And they're like, oh yeah, but on the day they drink too much. Well, one, don't give them that much alcohol. I mean, you're not supposed to do that legally anyway, are you? But also, once they arrive, the welcoming committee is about, who's teeing off when. But it's also saying, okay, just to clarify, everybody, zero tolerance. If there is any abuse in any way of our staff, you will all have to leave and you will not be allowed to come back. Do you all understand that? Yes, we do. Excellent. Good. Right now, and if they still don't get that, you can also, if there is abuse, you can report them to police. And it just seems very strange how little some of the golf clubs want to actually protect their staff. They're just like, well, I'm going to say, sorry, I'm going to go down that route. It's boys will be boys. If they drink, they get abusive. It's just what happens. I mean, we can't do anything about it. You can do stuff to stop them getting drunk. And when they do get drunk and abusive, they're out straight away. There's no, oh, we'll just put them over there in the corner. No, you're all out now. And you might need to, because this is hospitality, just like the hospitality business, they have security. If you need to start getting security in a bouncer, I'm just saying, I know that's not your culture, but actually that's maybe what you need to do. Because if you are going to be sued for their behaviour, and harassment is unlimited awards, and you've done nothing to prevent it, you are going to have tens and tens of thousands against you. Not millions, probably, but certainly tens and tens of thousands, plus the reputational damage. So you need to start thinking about, maybe we do need to have security, so that if something does kick off, security comes in and says, okay, gentlemen, you need to leave now, and I'm calling the police. Just something that you need to consider. But we're going to be doing a lot more on those changes and what the recommendations are, as well as the SSP changes. Nadia, have you got anything else this week?
No, I wanted to kind of add to that the legal wording, actually, sorry for my dogs in the back, I have a plumber who's just leaving, and that's upsetting my dogs. The actual legal word that is important here is going to be all. So the new legal wording is going to include something that says all reasonable steps, whereas at the moment it says reasonable steps, right? What all reasonable steps, that small word is so important, and it's being inserted for a reason, because it is increasing the protection that you need to give. It's saying you should already be protecting your staff against all of these things. But now we're saying we're going to look at whether you did absolutely everything we think there was that you could have done to protect your staff. That's what that difference means. And that is very strategically being added to that clause. So we are learning, we are watching webinars about that one word, to understand the significance of what that how that changes this law. And this is the bit that's really, really important. They're going to go from, did you take some steps? Was it reasonable? Did you try some things? To, was there anything you could have done that you didn't do?
Yeah, and also we went on to that bit. I mean, it was already going downhill, the conversation yesterday, and it went even further downhill when I said about the all. So basically, if there is something that anybody else has done in the UK that has prevented sexual harassment or harassment, particularly sexual harassment, and you have not done it, but they managed to do it and it worked, you will be expected to go to that, to have done that thing. So again, a lot of this is going to come through case law. It will be through discussions. We will be doing a lot of work on this as it comes into effect. But it's no good saying, well, yeah, we don't have the resource to do that. No, you have to do all things necessary. So if Bob down the road has, I don't know, made everybody sign a separate letter saying, I will not harass, I promise I will behave, and that has worked, you could have done that. You need to proactively be going out and finding out what you can do and what works. And actually, to be honest, not even what works, just doing everything you can possibly think of to make clear to people, this is no longer possible. Your demographic, your age will not get you out of this. Your drinking will not get you out of this. There are going to be consequences and you have to do it. And we then went on to the fact that the local cricket club that somebody was in, they had an offender, repeat offender, but he's 92 and he's been there for 33 years, so they can't get rid of him. And I'm like, yes, you can. Like, no, we can't. Yes, you can, because does he do these things with other people outside the cricket club? No. Do other 85-year-olds do this in the cricket club? No. So he's either consciously doing it or he's not thinking, like you'd say to children, or you just weren't thinking about it. Both of which are totally unacceptable. And it doesn't matter how long you've been there. As we know with staff, it just takes one gross misconduct incident and then you are out. It doesn't matter that you did 25 years. If you've now punched the general manager in the face, you are out. Okay, so it's the same thing with members. They don't get a get out of jail free card just because they've been there 33 years. They have to follow the same rules that everybody else does and treat people with respect. And I don't understand why that is so difficult for people to understand, that they're like, oh yeah, but all people can say what they want. No,
they shouldn't. And they can't in Tesco. They can't in the pub.
No.
They can't at the doctors. Why? No. Why can they at the golf club or the cricket club? Sorry to jump in again.
Yeah.
One of the other bits that we actually often have a problem with already have a problem with is this law isn't just focused on prevention. It's also focused on how you deal with it when it happens. It is nearly a 50-50, to be honest. So even if you've done everything you need to do in terms of prevention, it's still going to happen at some point because someone really wants to do it. It's then how you deal with it. And this is the bit we already struggle with in terms of members. Clubs are very reluctant to really discipline members properly for what they've done. And I always say, if this was an employee that did this to another employee or an employee who did this to a member, you would sack them. But because it's a member who's done it to an employee, you think a warning is okay. Really? So that is the other part of this. And this is staff to staff as well. You know, it's in any situation that harassment occurs, you need, even if the guy who is doing the harassing has been there many, many years and is a very good employee, and you've never had a complaint about him before, and you cannot believe that he would harass this other member of staff, especially if that member of staff doesn't seem a likely person to be harassed by this person, you still got to deal with it properly.
Yeah.
You can't just sweep it under the carpet because you don't want to lose him or because you can't believe that he would have done this.
Which is what we had this week, that we had a case where the boss said, well, they've never been like that to me. I've never had any problems with them. No, because you're the boss. But they're junior people that they are harassing. They don't feel they can say anything. And that's why this has gone on for months and months and got really quite bad. Thank you very much. So you saying, oh, but I think he's great, that is irrelevant. And that's the thing. Nobody should be aiming to go to tribunal. Ideally, because we've done it all correctly, absolutely. But because going to tribunal is not an American courtroom drama. It's not fun for anybody. Even if you win, it's not fun. It really isn't. And it's just any committee members or board members who say, we're going to have our day in court on this. It's like, that just proves you've never done this before. Because if you've ever been to court, you will not want to go to court. It's not high stakes and bits of paper being put backwards and I put to you, Your Honour, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not fun. It is procedure. It is an application of law. And just even if the judge plays golf, it will not affect what he does because they do, because they have to apply the law. And that's what they have to do. And their decision is a matter of public record. So they can't say, oh, yeah, actually, I really like Goring and Streatley Golf Club. Yeah, it's fine. You don't have to do it. Then they're never going to say anything like that. Or, oh, yeah, I really understand how difficult it is to find food and beverage people. That's okay. You don't have to fire him. No. That's all going to happen. So, Melanie, you look like you might have a question.
You couldn't have timed that conversation any better, because I do have some questions before the meeting.
Yeah.
So this is not a member of staff related. This is I've currently completed it's a member related, so member on member issue. So it's been verbal abuse between two people. We've done the investigation, we've done the disciplinary, and now he's appealing the decision of the disciplinary. So my first question is, just recap that if the appeal is changed, that we can only go down on the appeal, not make it harsher.
No, that is for employees.
Yes.
Member to member, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay, fine. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So employees, it is only reduction.
Yeah.
But in employee, for member to member, we can do whatever we like.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, for example, if he'd said in his appeal, oh, yeah, well, I did do it, but, I've been here for 33 years and, you can't get rid of me. Okay, now you're definitely going. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first question. My second question is that this occurred back in September. So due to being holidays and getting an investigation person to do it because I haven't got a captain, etc. So, and then the complainant couldn't arrange an appointment took 10 weeks to get the complainant to sit down and actually start to have the investigation and that recorded conversation.
Wow.
Then from that, we then obviously had to go on. Yeah, so don't go, you haven't done anything since September.
No.
It literally was the 29th or the 30th of September. So I was then away on holiday for 2 weeks, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we then managed to get the accused, but obviously over the Christmas period. So we got that sorted, and then I completed the disciplinary last week, and I've sent my ones out. Now, the person the member who's received the disciplinary has now raised a complaint against the member who originally, look at Nadia nodding her head. Is this a common thing?
They all do it. They're so offended that someone else has complained about them that they then counter complain. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I've now got a counter complaint, which is laughable, because actually, if you were worried about it to start with, why didn't you do it when it first started off? That's mine. But I guess I'm assuming I can't do anything about that, and I just deal with the one that I'm dealing with, and then I go on to deal with his complaint against the other person. However, there was one line, it's 2 lines in his letter, is he has said he should be protected from the it's a protection under. It's considered harassment and distress, and it should be covered under the Harassment Act 1997,
which is now all covered by the Equality Act 2010. So he's obviously asked the wrong thing of ChatGPT, but fine, yeah.
All right, okay. So from a member to, I don't have any jurisdiction over that, though. So is that not a police matter if he's quoting that?
Well, okay, Equality Act, the harassment, yes, there might be some harassment, member to member, but usually the laws are much more about employees, okay? So yeah. I'm not sure how much he thinks he's actually protected, but it's like, when they say about harassment, they usually mean that somebody has maybe sworn at them, but harassment is specifically to the protected characteristics. Okay.
Which he doesn't, as far as I'm aware, he doesn't.
Well, he obviously hasn't named it. He was harassing me on the grounds of my disability or whatever. No, he's just saying he's harassing me. And did he say distress?
Yeah, he said considered harassment and distress is what he said.
Which doesn't mean anything.
But he's never mentioned this at the disciplinary issue or the original harassment investigation. Exactly. And there's no notes on that at all. And he's admitted to swearing at me and being abusive. But he also said that the other person was also swearing and abusive towards him. But actually, there is no documentation or recordings to support that. But I do have emails from him saying basically the other guy needs to grow up and he should be able to take the abuse that he's given him, type of thing. So we've got it in black. There's an element of black and white that he's emailed. So actually, so him quoting the Harassment Act, unless he's specifically saying it is because of this. But again, would that sit with us? That doesn't. It's not my responsibility to. No, I wouldn't worry about it.
No, it would be then. It's like, okay, you're saying he was nasty to you, although okay, tell us what he said. Oh, well, he said, okay, well, it's just a complaint. We're ignoring the Harassment Act. But if you don't find any evidence of the other person's wrongdoing, then and he's like, no, it's definitely harassment. It's like, well, if you feel so strongly, you really should report it to the police. Absolutely.
The police,
But internally, our process is you've raised a complaint, we'll investigate the complaint, and here's the outcome. And it's not even, I'm not sure, I don't know what your process are, where they would have an appeal to the outcome of a complaint. Not all golf clubs do, a complaint being different from the disciplinary. That actually, we've made a decision, there is no appeal, end of. Off you go.
Yeah, so we have got an appeal. So for the first instance, he's got an appeal to the decision that has been made, because So, but
say it might be worth wrapping those up in the same thing. If it's a complaint about the other person being abusive, and he's saying it's sort of unfair that I've got this, then actually you could say we would be willing to consider both of those in the same meeting. Because obviously you're trying to claim there were extenuating circumstances. So why don't we do that both? And if he says yes, then that's one less meeting you have to have.
So at the appeal, we can do his appeal to the decision that's being made, and we can do the investigation at that.
Well, it's not an investigation, it's just a conversation with it. Yeah, okay, but sort of investigation meeting. It's a grievance meeting. As hearing, he said, well, actually, this other guy did bad things and that's why I did my thing, so therefore that's part of his appeal.
I know, it's just like tedious, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually,
I'll keep it separate because then it's clear.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
And the other thing he quoted right at the end, he's put, I reserve the right to seek legal action against the other person and against the club.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm going to say this is obviously a ChatGPT thing because we've had this in so many things from even lawyers lately, haven't we, Nadia? It's like, I'm reserving the right to sue you. Yes, you don't have to reserve the right. You have the right to sue us. You don't need to state you reserve the right. It's just honestly stop doing that. It's obviously ChatGPT being too American at this stage. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
There are some very is inflaming even a word, but inflaming type of words that people like to use. Distress being one of them.
Yeah.
The one from earlier. Reserve to being another. It actually means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
If you read it in the context of what the complaint is and what it's saying, those words, someone's just trying to use big, scary words to make it look big and scary, literally, but the words mean nothing. Yeah. It's really frustrating when you get things like that.
The thing is that he's put a complaint forward, but actually having already gone through the whole of the conversations, the only evidence that we have that those conversations did actually take place, because we've got no recordings, is the emails that have gone between the two individuals. So one, it's really calm, and it's like, and this the guy has a little bit of a reputation of can be a bit heated, but every communication he's done in writing has been absolutely not spot on, but it's been calm and together, whereas the other guy has been very aggressive towards him. So that's why he's got discipline. That's why he's gone to disciplinary, because we've got it in black and white. But he's now coming and saying he said, she said thing. We've got no evidence that those conversations have actually taken place, and we couldn't consider those in this meeting for this disciplinary because we don't have the evidence. It's one person saying something and somebody else paying the other. So I didn't take that into account when I issued the disciplinary, because it's, well, you're both as bad as one another, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's no record of what was said. There's no witnesses, nothing.
No, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You'll just go through the motions, really, of handling the second complaint, but the outcome will be the same, because you'll be like, well, if we have the same evidence available.
Yeah, and I don't think it will get same. I don't think it will get to disciplinary at this stage. No. Because having got the information, I've got no evidence that this actually took place. What I have got from the last one is this email trail of what was said.
Exactly.
Right, that's okay. So from a member's point of view, we can go up or down, and then there is no right for him to be protected unless he has one of the protected characteristics.
No, but it's also not protected particularly. Nobody should be verbally abused. It's not about...
No, I know, yeah. But if he feels so strongly about it, he needs to go to the police and report it to the police, because he's being abused or harassed because of his disability or his protected characteristic. But he's not specified that,
No, exactly. He's probably not said anything. So, well, he's done this. Okay, so when did he do that? What time? So this was in August, was it? Why did you not raise it previously?
So you've been really distressed now for 4 months, since October, November, December, January. Yeah. 4 months you've been really distressed about it, but you've not raised it. Until you get a disciplinary letter from me.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Natalie, have you got anything today, or are you just loving the fact you're not a golf club? Yeah. Exactly. Okay then, well, we will see you all next Thursday with some new horror stories. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.